as Everton. Big win for them, obviously. That keeps them safe. Liverpool, meanwhile, what does that mean? Well, obviously, we talk about the match, analyse it, but I suppose the big question to you, Stevie, is it over?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty simple. No question. After losing at home to Crystal Palace, that made a huge dent in it. But to lose this game, realistically, you can't expect Arsenal or Man City to lose 2 games, because that's what's going to have to happen.
Right.
That's not happening.
Let's welcome in Frank Leboeuf. Apologies, Frank, I forgot to introduce you to Everett. Do you agree with Stevie? Is it over?
Well, I wouldn't be 100% sure it is over, because everybody can make mistakes also on the other side. But I agree, you will need to lose from the others. But when you don't put ingredients at the end of the game at the end of the championship in the race of a possible title, it means something. And today, Liverpool were nowhere near it. It was a derby. You have to have the pride. You have to be a warrior. And we saw nothing of that. On top of it, they were sometimes clumsy, sometimes not tuned in. We saw TAA on the goal, the second goal they conceded. Darwin Núñez, I agree with Craig. Why he shot on Pickford when you have like 4 or 5 yards free? So, some details that you can see that Liverpool weren't the Liverpool that we know. And maybe it's why I think it can be over very, very soon.
They kind of were the Liverpool that we know, that we've come to know over the last few weeks.
Yeah, so in that sense, it wasn't a huge surprise. Yeah, it was a Merseyside derby, so there was a good atmosphere there. They're fighting for their lives, so there's not any sort of mid-table mediocrity end of season about it, and that always adds an extra bit of spice. But you look at the shockers recently. In no particular order. Atalanta at home, Atalanta away wasn't fantastic, but it was a win. But that game was pretty much over. Crystal Palace at home, Fulham away early, which wasn't great, but they got the job done, and that's all you can ask for. But I suppose, forgetting even the Man United 2-2, which was, I don't know, the couple of games against United have really startled them.
Yeah.
The FA Cup game that was extra time, they lost 4-3, and then this game where young Konza made a mistake and out of nowhere Bruno Fernandes scores, and it's just sort of piled on from there, and it's not been great. And Stevie mentioned it a couple of days ago, was even at Fulham when they dug out a win, was Klopp never really raised the gallop. He wasn't in his technical area much, he wasn't screaming and shouting, he wasn't gesticulating. There was a little bit of that again today, and even in his after-match interview, he was pretty honest. He said, look, you're just not good enough and blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But I'm almost feeling with him, there's the resignation that there's nothing left in the tank with the Salahs and Núñez and all these, and the manager himself, he's just looking as if he's dead beat. He's just knackered.
I think what's as disappointing as anything is that Liverpool at one stage, it seems not too long ago, they were the bare bones. They couldn't put a team out.
Yeah, Carabao Cup final, of course.
But yet they got over all of that.
Yeah.
And they got all over that. They won the cup. They found themselves at the top of the league, and then they're bringing the players back, and you're thinking, this is fantastic. To get through this period, having half your team missing, and still be sitting top of the Premier League, and then you look at the fixtures and you think, this is doable, no question. And you get yourself to the point that it's in your hands. Mm-hmm. But then it fell apart. It fell apart. And mostly, in my opinion, it fell apart because for some reason the front players, particularly Salah, particularly Núñez, have absolutely disappeared off the face of the earth. We saw Núñez with a chance in the highlight. What we didn't see was there was a ball. He was standing at the top of the box on his own. There was a ball fired into him. All he had to do was take it and get a strike off at goal. He completely miscontrolled it. He actually ended up salvaging it by putting it back to Mo Salah, who then put it 40 yards over the crossbar. It really, just in that little passage, summed up what Liverpool have been going forward.
We talk about Arsenal and the pressure on them, leading from the top, being top of the table. Talks about it's easier to chase. Did that hit Liverpool? Because when they went top, when destiny was in their own hands, when they beat Brighton, and of course City and Arsenal drew, since then, when they had destiny, when they could have won out and won it, things have gone really south quick.
I really don't think it was pressure, to be honest. It's just complete loss of form. And I said it last week.
So why is it pressure for Arsenal but not Liverpool?
No, but I'm just saying that Liverpool... Look at Núñez and Salah, and Núñez in particular. I mean, one of the reasons that they were at the top of the league was because this guy looked as though he had found it. But then he's completely lost it just like that. But then he got injured, as did Salah. And then when they come back, they're obviously not the same, but then the confidence is shot. I don't see it as pressure. Listen, Liverpool, for me, all season, I couldn't figure out why they were sitting top of the league. Because all season, they've been giving up chances and giving up goals. I mean, today, the commentators told you today that this was the 15th game this season they'd gone behind. That's almost half a season.
You can't keep doing that.
So you can't keep doing it and getting away with it. And then you add on the fact that your forward line just can't buy a goal, other than penalty kicks or set pieces, then you're never going to win anything. And that's why they're out of 4 competitions.
I always felt with Liverpool, as good as it was from last year, and listen, hey, you can't give this one up. You know what I mean? Like, Arsenal lost to Villa, and City have got 2 games in hand, and they haven't looked brilliant. But 4 games to go for Liverpool, and Arsenal's a body blow. But I've always felt they're kind of off the cuff, sort of harem-scarum, losing goals approach, pleasing on the eye, sort of the way they've gone about it for a lot of the time, but this season in particular, I always felt that was going to catch up with them at some point, and the more structured team in Arsenal, and certainly City, were going to come through in the end, and they're kind of finding that out a little bit. But I just wonder as well, you know, Mo Salah, he went off to the African Cup of Nations, didn't really feature much, got injured, came back, got himself fit. He's been back in the side and back fit long enough now. He's just, I don't know, Is he affected by the fact the manager said he's going? He's now thinking about what's going to be for him in the summer. Big payday, another big payday in Saudi Arabia, whatever it is, because, man, he's just... You talk about a player who's just completely gone off the boil. I mean, we used to see all these sort of, amateurish touches and shots from him.
Yeah, but then there'd be something brilliant.
Even when he was scoring, even when he's posting these great numbers, which he has all of his Liverpool career, we always still saw within games, within periods, these little phases where he would do something, you go, is this the guy that's scoring 20, 30 goals a year? And then he'd pop up, something out of this world, brilliant. He's not. He's doing the other side of it. He's left the brilliant side of it behind, so that bit of magic is not there.
How much is Jurgen Klopp announcing that he'll leave at the end of the season a factor in all of this?
It's very difficult to go one way or the other, Dan, because the obvious thing to do would be that, and we had reports that Van Dijk had gotten everybody in and said, right, let's push on for the manager. I mean, in some ways...
Is that then not added pressure as well?
I don't...
Yeah, but hold on, they went great guns when since when he announced it, up until the last 3 weeks, it was going. It was
Carabao Cup final, we mentioned, of course, youngsters coming in, everything working out.
It galvanised them. Yeah. I don't think it's that. I think it galvanised them. I think what it is, they're just not quite as a unit, as a squad, good enough.
No.
Right.
No, they're in the top 3 teams in the Premier League. Unfortunately, they're the third, and that's where they are.
So long term, we'll talk about Arne Slot obviously in a moment, but long term with this squad, Darwin Núñez, Diaz, Salah maybe moving on. There's a lot of question marks, isn't there, about...
I think the biggest question, Mark, for me would be Núñez. You know, at the end of the day...
Well, has he not answered? He's answered it, really, hasn't he? Over this, like, when you needed him the most, when you needed him to stand up, he's let you down.
Yes, and that's the biggest question. So how do you move on a guy who you paid 80 million for and who has a big wage? So that's a problem. You know, if Salah does go, then you use the money.
Yeah.
And I said before, you can move Núñez wide and get yourself an Osimhen or another centre forward. But then again, you know, we're sitting here this time last year, we're talking about the middle of the park, how that's the problem.
Yes, yeah.
Now, the middle of the park's fine to me. The problem's the back line and the front line.
But look at your fullbacks today. Robertson had a shocker, and Alexander-Arnold, once again, you could point at both goals, so he's at fault for them.
Yeah.
Is there an argument you have to move on from that as well?
Well, yes. The back line has not been secure this year, and Van Dijk's only got a year left. What's going to happen with him? So, listen, they're going to have a real sit down and figure out where they're going to spend the money on. Are they going to spend the money on?
Where would you spend the money on?
I would spend the money on the back line. You don't win titles without defending. You don't. You can't just keep outscoring the opposition every Saturday in order to win the title. You just don't. It doesn't harm. When you play against good teams, proper teams, you can't get away with that. I think you have to give Núñez a little bit more time. But I'm saying that without being really confident that he can go back to what he was. There was a little spell in mid-season where he looked like a centre-forward. And you think, oh, he's got over the hump. But since that time to now, since he got injured, he looks as though he's the Núñez that joined us. But again, you have to... I don't think they're in a position where they're basically going to bin him. I think you've got to give him a little bit more time. But I would start at the back, absolutely. You don't win titles if you don't defend. And Liverpool absolutely haven't been defending.
So we've discussed a lot over recent weeks as to who will come in, who will take charge of Liverpool once Jurgen Klopp leaves at the end of the season. We mentioned this yesterday, Mark Ogden reporting it. It's got more and more attention today. Arne Slot is the favourite to make that move from the Eredivisie to Liverpool. He won, of course, with Feyenoord last season, the Eredivisie Championship. He won the Dutch Cup this year. How do you feel, Stevie?
Underwhelmed, no?
Aye. I mean, is that the resume of somebody to lead a club the size of Liverpool back to the Premier League title and the Champions League? I mean, I can't honestly say that. All the other boxes have been ticked. The way they play the game, the way he goes about it. You know he's going to be able to coach. But is it really a resume to take over one of the biggest clubs in the land? I'm not sure it is. But what are the alternatives?
The problem is he's taking over one of the best clubs in the land when they're on a dip. And then we've talked about, you know, the players, the squad rotation that needs to happen, the freshening up, and you're following Jurgen Klopp as well.
Well, when Liverpool decided they were going to replace Brendan Rodgers, they went out and they made a statement, didn't they? And I know he was on a hiatus at the time, and he'd had that. He finished at Dortmund, not badly, but he finished, well, it was pretty bad compared to the previous years. But he was taking a break. But when they announced him, people sat up, didn't they? And they went, "Yeah, this, you know, well, you're never sure, but this is exciting." And I think that's difficult to find that guy again. You give everybody a chance, you know, whether it's De Zerbi coming in to Brighton or Areola coming in at Bournemouth. There should be none of this absolute guff that we hear about knowing the Premier League and you know, knowing English football and blah blah, because the game has really gone past that. Ultimately, it's, you know, with the recruitment strategies of a lot of clubs now, it's not quite as simple as it used to be about knowing players in a particular country. So you have to give these guys time. That being said, it kind of feels like they've gone round the houses, Liverpool, and gone, right, Nagelsmann, he's gone to jail, even got Bayern, De Zerbi.
But don't you think the Klopp appointment in itself was a no-brainer, really? You know, Klopp had been to a Champions League final. Klopp had knocked Bayern off the perch. So it really was kind of a no-brainer.
That's what I mean.
This one's difficult, don't you think? Because there's not a Klopp. Number one, as you said, there's not a Klopp out there. So now you're going to have to dig into whatever to try and figure out who the right man is. And it seems like Arne Slot's the guy that they've decided on for all of those reasons.